welcome to Sotong Sessions. You're on with Candice,
Delia,
and Jazz
for another virtual episode where we talk about all things life, love, and legacy. Ladies, these new United States.
I can't
welcome home.
Can't keep doing that.
No, I can't unhear it. Ever since you said it the first time, I was like, New United States.
But they acting brand new out in these streets, right? Like, can we agree?
Yep.
And so today we just really want to catch our listeners up and I guess catch each other up because we've moved back. We originally started in Korea. We started this show in Korea, which a lot of people may not know. And then we've only recently, within the past, 24 months, been back in the States. So Jazz, start us off. Tell people where Sotong Sessions came from. I mean, it's not even an English word, right? Sotong.
No. So we all lived in Korea for a number of years. And that's how we met. We met the Black expat population in Korea is a small community within itself.
Small but mighty.
Yeah, small. So we met, quickly became friends, and the rest is history.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, so in Korea, we had to navigate the Black experience from afar. So it's like we ended up having a lot of these conversations about like what's going on back home, what's happening to our people, because this George Floyd protest that's happening right now is not the first time. We done been here before. I guess the three of us have been like a support network for ourselves overseas long before we even started Sotong.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Sotong, I think it was birthed in Starbucks. Am I right?
It was. It was
Starbucks geckos.
No, it was birthed in Starbucks. And you know how I know? Because our favorite Starbucks diva had to sit and listen to us talk for an hour and a half and it didn't have nothing to do with her. Shout out to Sonia Carrasquillo.
Yeah.
Now Sonia Carrasquillo White. Yeah, it was Starbucks.
It was Starbucks.
Can y'all remember what we thought this show was going to be about? Do you remember what our topic was? Y'all don't remember. No, I don't remember. Y'all had changed it. I was like, we doing this. You're like, no, we on some new stuff. You don't remember? It was about Shondaland. Thursday night TV. So we were going to do all things Thursday night. How to Get Away with Murder, Grey's Anatomy,
Scandal.
And Scandal. That's what we thought this whole thing was going to be about. Little did we know.
Little did we know. It just evolved into us talking about our lives and our experience as Black women abroad, living in an Asian country, living in a foreign country, living away from our family, away from our culture, and just doing everyday life and sharing our experiences.
Mm-hmm. And I remember, like, Delia, when did you originally move to Korea? I think this is some kind of interesting.
I moved out there in the summer of 2012.
Right.
And I met you guys, I think, in like October of that year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And Jazz, when did you originally move to Korea?
I got there February 2011.
Mm-hmm.
And I met Candice first before D, obviously. But yeah, Candice, you've been there the longest. What's your story?
Oh, gee. I got there in 2005, May of 2005.
Wow.
Yeah. And so I remember when both y'all came on the set. And I remember when I first met Jazz, like you could hear Jazz before you meet Jazz because she was like laughing. She was known by laughter. And I remember I quoted a movie. I think it was something from like Tina Turner, something like that. What did I say? Something about anime. Anyway, I said that in a conversation where she was standing and she was like, you use movie quotes? And then we were friends. Then Delia just kind of slid into the spot. She was at the dinner table one day and
I just didn't leave.
She just
Yeah.
Yeah. So what made us decide to do this? What made us decide to, like, at that time we just pulled out our phones and we're like, we're gonna make a podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think it was just because we had such a great time talking with one another.
Mm-hmm.
It felt so comfortable and like home.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was like, man, we also had very different perspectives, or like interesting things that each one of us wanted to share. Initially, when it came from talking about Shondaland and TV and what that was all like, and so we were like, man, we just have a good time. It'd be funny. Like, I think it was just kind of an offhand, Candice, that you said like, we should record this,
Mm-hmm.
and then we all kind of looked at each other. We're like, yeah.
It was
just
just like
natural
that.
thing. And we were like, well, how do we do it? And there was like, we'll just make voice notes. You know what I mean? We started off very like basic and very like, okay, we'll just record on our phones. And then I think
our separate phones, mind you.
Our separate phones, right? Each one of us, it was like 1, 2, 3, go.
That's very true.
It was just us having fun. You know what I mean? Like, we just wanted to have fun and then connect, and then we felt like we had a voice that a lot of people wanted to hear. So we said, okay, why not just share it out? So that's kind of, I don't know, that's just kind of how it started. And then we'd have all these random experiences that would happen and things that would go on, and so we could talk about it.
Yeah, and a big part of it too was our friends and family back home, our Black community, asking, hey, what is it like living in an Asian country? Hey, are you in North Korea, South Korea, what?
Right.
And then asking about our safety and all this. So one day I remember we went on air and we were just like, hey, we're okay. We know the news is like hyping up North Korea and everything right now, but we're still alive. And so we kind of like started to incorporate different topics. And it really was a way for us to keep in touch with our community back here in the States too.
And Jazz is our creative director. So usually, I mean, from the second episode, when we decided to focus on life, love, and legacy, Jazz has been basically curating the female Black experience in Korea. And then so she would print out like, these are some topics, or people would contact her, and she was following comments and getting a feel for what people were asking. And then we would do an episode about that. So Jazz, what is it like deciding, what's that process? Like, oh, this is what we're going to talk about. Because you still do it now.
Mm-hmm. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of like middle of the night ideas.
Mm-hmm.
Is that like reassuring to know, Delia, that she be in the middle of the night like, yo, this is what we're going to do?
No, it's because that's when like the juices are flowing and you get that inspiration hits. I get
exactly.
it.
You get it?
Exactly. And I think it too has caused me to like take a step back from our lives and from our experience, because a lot of things I would take for granted and people would be super interested in. And I'm like, y'all want to hear about that? Like, you guys want to hear about our dating life in Korea? It's crazy. Okay, let's make an episode.
That was our most played, most listened to episode of all time. People still listen to the
Everybody
episode.
wants
if you
to
track
know.
It. Yeah.
Episode
So
5.
that's season 1. Yeah, season 1, episode 5. If you want to know what it was like for us dating in Korea.
Yeah, we should put a link down below just so y'all can get to that one real fast.
Just click the link.
Absolutely.
Mm. And I think maybe somewhere toward the middle, like probably around episode 5, Delia got designated content moderator, which is basically her making sure that the conversation don't go crazy, make sure me and Jazz don't get into
let me tell y'all what happened, okay?
Tell us about that.
These two will be having like heated discussions, and then our podcast initially were going on like hour 30-minute long sessions, and it was like we gotta cut the line. So then I just became the natural mediator is what really happened. And it was just fun though. It was fun to just kind of like sit back and watch the two of them kind of ping pong off each other. And then it was like, okay, all right, let's refocus.
Exactly. We need that though. Yeah, we need that.
I didn't notice how opposite our views and approaches to the middle ground were until we started doing this show. And I was like, oh, that's how you got there? That ain't the way to get there. Like, this is how I got there. And Delia was like, both are valid. Both are valid.
But it's fun though. Like, that's, I think, is what made it so like fun and interesting for us to come together, just the three of us, because we were doing this for a little while before we even decided to make it a thing, you know? Right. And so then for us to just kind of like hear our different perspectives, because yes, we're all Black women, but we all grew up very differently.
Yeah.
And so for us to be able to bring all of our experiences and our lives and like everything together and to hear each one of us, I think it made our conversations and then our relationships so much richer. You know, like I learned so much from both of y'all that I wouldn't have learned just on my own. You know what I mean? Like we all kind of learned different things from one another. So that helped us. I think that's one of the main reasons why we stayed in Korea for so long, was because of the relationships that we created, especially just for me personally with the two of y'all. So
that's a true sentence. It's really hard to leave. Like, even if you had ideas of other places you wanted to be or things you want to do, that hesitation was like, but my community, like my girls, you know? And I think that's a big thing.
And it's a weird thing to think that you would travel literally to the other side of the world and find, you know, community with expats, with people who look like you, who are on the same page and who are open to experiencing a different lifestyle outside of the norm. It was a really cool thing.
Yeah, it was. But we have made that transition, painful or not so painful. I don't know. When did you come back to the States, Delia?
I came back, Lord, what day is it today?
June 11, 2020.
Nobody knows.
I came back almost 2 years ago now. So it'll be, I came back in September of 2018. So it's been almost 2 years.
I can't believe it's been that long. Wow.
Yeah.
I remember the day you told me you were leaving. You took me, you were like, hey, you want to go out for dinner? And I was like, what? Yeah. And then it was Plant. Remember Plant, that vegan joint in Itaewon? Shout out Itaewon.
Yep.
So she took me there. I was like, oh, she want to take me out to dinner and she care about my health? Like, we gonna eat vegan? And then she slides it in. So I'm leaving. I was like, nigga, what? This is why you brought me out here, so I couldn't act a fool in front of all these people. That's why you
to make sure that I told you in a way that I felt like you'd be able to receive it well, you know?
That's what she said. I felt like you brought me in a public place so I couldn't flip tables.
But you know, Candice will flip a table.
I lifted it.
She did.
I was like, no, A2 Brute.
Yeah.
Because Jazz had left. I think Jazz left first, right?
I did leave first out of the three of us. I left in July of that same year. What year? 2018?
2018.
Yeah. July. I left in July, and so it's been 2 years. Next month is July. I can't believe it. It flew by. It's been 2 years since I left, and I don't remember how I told you guys.
Well, you told us separately, but I know it was a public place. It wasn't a phone conversation, that's for sure.
It was face to face. I remember that.
So that's classy. I mean, I guess y'all classy, but
we do what we can. But Candice, you stuck around.
Girl, I still ain't left. My ticket is for October to go back. I'm still like, every time I want to leave, like something keep pulling me back.
Okay, Chingy.
Who's also from the loop. So maybe it's in our genetics. Like, we just can't seem to leave a place. No, I did leave. I said I was leaving officially and I ain't coming back. I said that about 12 months ago. And then I left, and then I came back here in March. I'll probably go back to Korea in October. I don't know what I'm doing.
So, I mean, Jasmine and I came back almost 2 years ago now. But Candice, you're just now kind of getting back at the start of all of this stuff that's been happening. So for you, like, what has that transition been like because it's hard enough coming back just off birth, right? And with like nothing going on.
Yeah.
But to come back and then all of this, what was that like?
So there's that thing called reverse culture shock, right? Where you come back to your home, but your home was somewhere else for 15 years. And I've been living overseas since I was 20, so 18 years for me. So there are things that you're supposed to know that you don't know, like the colors of the milk carton, like what that means, like a blue one and and a red one and a pink one. That's how small, but that be tripping you up, man. Or that Chipotle menu, the options, it's overwhelming. And I be in line all day.
Period.
Options,
The options
period.
in general. Yeah.
This is the struggle. And then too, like, I think it was 6 days after I left Korea, there was a travel ban and you couldn't fly out of Korea to another country. You couldn't fly back into Korea. Like, so then anyone who had, this is kind of weird, but anyone who had come in contact with me in that period had to report that to their company or their jobs, that they had been in contact with somebody who had come out of Korea, because the numbers started to spike around the beginning of March in Korea. And
I remember when you were like, you literally like the night before your flight, you were like, I hope I can fly out. And I'm just like, wait, what? What's going on? And like,
you were G2. You were like, did you make it? Are you good? We praying for you. And I was like, is it that serious? It was that serious.
That serious.
It was that serious. So that, I think that was my biggest concern, is what kind of risk, perceived or real, am I putting the people around me in? Because at that moment, everybody was like, oh crap, I saw Candice, or I was at her house. Do I have to tell my boss? Right. And then like some of my friends, they went to work and all of their friends knew that they were with me that like the week before. So they're all like getting stares, and it was weird. So I feel for our like Asian people who were being targeted around that time, because if you knew somebody that was Asian, you were being targeted. Yeah, that was weird. So I don't know what it feels like to come in and decide. I think though, to be honest, y'all have it harder because you had to start a life. I just had to endure quarantine. That's all I had to do.
That's a good point. Well, actually for me, I ended up taking some time off of life. Period. I came back in July 2018 and I did not work for over a year, which that was the first time I'd ever taken that much time off since I was 15 years old and I started my first job at a pizza place. Like,
wow.
I have never not worked for an extended period of time. And so there was this weird transition of, I knew I was going to be out of work for a while. I did not expect that long. But it was this weird trying to find your footing in I almost said you're a new country, in your home country that feels brand new. It feels so different because, you know, as expats, we had visited back and forth over the years, but like, this is your first time back in America. And for me, it was my first time back in America as like a full grown adult, because I went to Korea when I was 21, I think, fresh out of college. Yeah. So it was a lot of like adulting on the spot. And like, thankfully I had a family who was able to offer me a lot of support as far as like moving back in with my family, with my parents. So having that support was great, but it was a lot of trying to find my place now. Okay, I'm in my 30s and I'm just now adulting in America. Adulting in Korea is very different. Like, it's not, it doesn't translate well. It just doesn't.
It's not the same setup. The life setup is not the same.
No. So trying to navigate all of that, and then, it was a lot. It was a lot. And it took quite a while to get used to the idea of living back in America, being here permanently, not hopping on a flight every couple of months for a vacation or, you know, to go visit somebody. But it was a huge adjustment. but
We
also
all have a
every way
moment of
I am.
silence for our frequent flyer miles that can
Oh,
be used at this time.
exactly.
I saw a meme that said, "How are I don't catch feelings, I catch flights. How y'all doing? How y'all holding up?" Not well.
Right.
Delia, I think that's something that doesn't get discussed enough. Is that transition period and how hard that is coming back. And I think for not only just our listeners, but for our family to know, like, actually, this is what's going on inside of me when you see me coming into this world. This is who I am trying to adjust. What was that like for you?
Yeah, it was. I did not expect it to be difficult because I'm usually a pretty adaptable person. Like even when I moved to Korea, I felt like I adapted to Korea pretty well. So I wasn't really anticipating it to be difficult on the way back home. But then like I moved back into my dad's house, and that was the first time I had like lived in my dad's house for an extended period of time since I was 19. So I was like, oh, this is different, you know, and there are different people in the house than there were when I left the house. So it was a very different dynamic and a very different situation. And I had plans coming back home that none of those plans worked through. So everything for me when I came back was completely different. And so I just kind of had to like adjust and try to make it whatever it was going to be, and kind of also have that conversation with my dad, like, I'm here, I'm here, I'm in your house, I'm also a grown woman. So we're gonna have to figure something out, you know. And then I broke my ankle and was laid up in the bed for 5 months, so like that was a completely different situation. So I also spent about a year not working, which is probably the longest I've ever gone as well since I started working, which my first job was at Kmart when I was 15 years old. So it's 2018 into 2019 was a very difficult transition because nothing that I had kind of thought was going to be happening happened. So I came back trying to figure out what this new life of mine was going to look like. Where do I need to be? Where do I need to go? But like Jazzy said, thankfully I had my family support. So like if I didn't have them, and I couldn't imagine having broken my ankle in Korea. Like that is, I could not fathom it. So the fact that it happened when I was home with my family, definitely like better than anything could have happened, because then at least I had them to support. My dad took me to and from all my doctor's appointments, physical therapy every single week, sometimes 2-3 times a week. Like I wouldn't have been able to do that on my own, you know, but it was still a very difficult transition to then figuring out, okay, I'm going to leave that area now and then move out on my own to a completely different state, you know. So even that transition was a lot too. So it's just been kind of all over the place.
Right.
Candice, that's what we should say. What is your transition like? Like you said, you come straight into the quarantine.
Yeah.
How do you
and we're still locked down. So we're still technically, untechnically in quarantine. So I think there's that kind of thing to grapple with, right? Is that I haven't had to really transition. So all transitions have been like mental ones, right? Like you were saying, like, okay, this is my parents' house. I too came to like a really great setup. Like my mom, it's just me and my mom, and we have all this space. And my mom is like naturally kind of creative as well. So she gets like, oh, you want to paint something on the wall? What you want to do? Like, do what you need to do, you know? So there's that. But then that's it. Like you can't leave those 4 walls. So even if I wanted to grow to become something, well, you're going to have to wait to do that. So I'm still like waiting to transition. But have you guys made that transition? And then what does that look like? What does your current situation look like? Which I love to.
I think I have. I think the reverse culture shock took me a little while to get used to, you know, saying little things like, or understanding like even just the world of Uber and Lyft. That was a big one for me. And like Cash App and Venmo. I was like, wait, what? And then I would talk to people like my siblings or my friends, and they'd be like, just Cash App me. What? I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what that is. I got to get it together. I'm sorry. And then they would say things like, you don't know about that? And I'd be like, no. They're like, oh yeah, I forgot you were overseas for a while. So it's little things like that that I feel like I've slowly kind of gotten back into, you know, the swing of things. Yeah, but it's been, now it kind of just feels like normal, natural life. Every once in a while, I think I miss, you know, being able, I think the freedom of like Jazzy said, being able to hop on a plane during vacation and go somewhere, go to an island and sit on a beach and just like live. I miss that. I miss that so much. Like that's probably one of the number one things that I miss, or the ease of transportation. You know, like being all the walking that we would do, or just catch the bus here, or catch the metro here. Like sometimes I miss that, and not wanting to be in my car for 30, 40 minutes, you know? Just little things like that.
Yep.
How about you, Jazz?
I
mean, you got married and all of that. You started a whole new
life. Tell us.
That was a whole, I mean, that's a whole transition in itself. I think I met my husband 3 or 4 weeks after I moved back to the States. So that was, God did a quick work.
Won't he do it?
He did it. He done did it. So yeah, that like, and I thank God because I needed someone, like he's been there supporting me basically since I got back home. And without him, I would have gone crazy because I needed someone. I didn't have any friends when I moved back to VA. Like none of my friends are from VA. So it was pretty lonely, but I had him, like we hung out. We went to the park like every day in the summer. We went to the beach and just like chilled. So we became instant best friends. And that was exactly what I needed at that pivotal moment in my life. So yeah, we got married in February. So it's been a few months now, but life is good.
Nice.
Yeah.
I think because I started my last 6 months in Korea, I started getting into directing and doing more film work. Coming back and being quarantined and only having what's going on around you to really take in, I just picked up the camera and I started filming again since I've been back. So a group of us are working on a documentary that'll be out in a couple of weeks. Yeah, so very excited.
Your projects have projects. Like you have been working on so many projects even before you left Korea.
Yeah, man.
It's full. Creative.
Yeah, so that's one thing, you know, they can't take from you in quarantine. You still got your creative mind. I just gotta put that to use. It's been good for that. Like I've been able to really create, and those projects I was working on in Korea got finished in quarantine via like Skype and stuff. So that's my only like semi happy current escapade-ish story. We see when they give us free what life really gonna be like.
We'll see.
Well, thank you guys again for tuning in. Wow, it's been good to like really process where we are now, right?
Yeah.
Like we come a long way.
A long way from that Starbucks.
From that one Starbucks talking about everything we watched on TV to now. If you guys really enjoy listening to our podcast or watching our YouTube channel, don't forget to share, subscribe, like. What we really love, though, is comments. So you can find us at our Sotong Sessions Instagram. You can hit us up there. You can hit us up here on YouTube or any other platforms that you enjoy our content. Man, until next time.
Till next time, everybody.